Hey, this is Dr. Mike. Today I'm going to talk about the book Peak. The book Peak was written by the author Anders Ericcsson, and the book focuses on developing your expertise in a field through deliberate practice. Here's the book Peak. Okay, so Peak is all about really not focusing on individuals that have what we call innate talent, but actually developing that talent or that potential through deliberate practice. So what's deliberate practice? Well, deliberate practice is different from regular practice because it's a focused type of practice that's very purposeful. And that's based off of what Anders Ericcsson states. And not only that, it follows a criteria. In fact, Ericcsson helps us to better understand what deliberate practice is all about and how one can go about doing it. And he talks about 7 steps to do that. He talks about number 1, you have to already be working in a field that's really mature. And the reason for that is it's a field that there are experts in it who really understand the process of being successful. So if you have individuals in the field that are in a field that's really mature, there's background information, there's knowledge on it, there's ways for you to develop the tools that you need to be an expert in that field because you have something to base expertise on. The second thing he states is that number 2, you need to be sure that you're pushing yourself beyond yourself. So deliberate practice requires you to really push yourself out of your comfort zone. So you have to push yourself beyond yourself. And that's something that Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi talks about in the book Flow. In order to achieve a flow state, it requires pushing your body beyond itself or exerting yourself beyond what you normally would do. So you optimize your physical ability. Maybe you're optimizing your mental ability. But the point is to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. The third thing he says is that goals need to be specific and well-defined. Now, we understand that from the perspective of setting SMART goals. And typically, when you have well-defined goals, it's easier to measure and manage your practice so that you're able to achieve whatever those goals are. You want them to be attainable goals. The other thing is that deliberate practice requires full engagement. Now, this is pretty neat because full engagement is when you really bring your whole self to your practice or you bring your whole self to work. Whatever you're doing, you're bringing your whole person. And that whole person is your mind, your body, your spirit. It requires engaging yourself and having attentional focus only on practicing. And that will help you to, 1, achieve higher levels of engagement, but it'll also allow you to achieve flow too as well. The other thing that he talks about is you need to have a feedback loop and you need to be willing to accept feedback. So you have to be teachable. You have to be willing to listen to what your coach is telling you so that you have a better idea of how to perform in a more deliberate way. I mean, how can you fix yourself if you can't really see what you're doing? And that's why people have coaches to help them do that. The next thing he says is that it requires having an effective mental representation. So you need to make sure that over time, your practice really aligns with whatever the requirements or standards are in the field of the experts. So if you're looking at experts and what you're mimicking isn't exactly in the range that they're in, it means that you need to continue to tweak your performance until you have finally aligned your performance with the performance of those that are great. And then lastly, the 7th thing he says is you need to understand that you're going to be building and modifying your skills. So your practice is always going to build off of practice. So you're going to understand the baseline process or the best practice, and then you must learn to go beyond that. But you also need to be aware that you're going to have to self-correct yourself through the process of practicing. So the book really is a great book because what he really is focusing on is not so much the mythical idea of we've all got just this innate ability and that's what makes people great, but he's really talking about what's realistic. he's talking about the aspect of greatness that we don't always see. And that is really the practice that's involved in someone becoming an expert or being the best version of themselves. When we see people and they're in the field that they're in, they're performing, and they've already really practiced and put that 10,000 hours in to get to the point of mastery. But this book really helps us to understand that the process of mastery requires deliberate practice. Check the book out. I think you'll like it.